Here we go. Welcome, Lisa Larter. Thank you so much for joining me this morning in a conversation about self-care. Last year, I entered a Facebook contest in the summer and I won Lisa's book, Pilot to Profit. It's going to show backwards, but I was so tickled to get it in the mail, and I have to say that I have been a fan of yours ever since.
Aw, thank you.
I'm going to post a link to your website in the thread once I publish this video later on this afternoon so that other people can learn more about you. What I admire most about you is your integrity, your straightforward approach, and your generosity to share your own process and how open you are about the boundaries that you set around your own self-care as in your business and personal life. And I also love that you call Nova Scotia home for part of the year. Are you ready to dive in?
I am. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. I so often see and hear women that sacrifice themselves and their values because they believe they have to. When you make self-care your number one priority in your life, what does it give to you?
That's a great question, because I don't know that I'm 100% there. So I don't know that, and I want to actually stop for a moment and say thank you for not sending me these questions in advance, because you're getting real, raw, honest feedback. And so I appreciate that. A lot of times people send questions in advance and they give you time to think. I don't know that I do prioritize my self-care as number one all the time. I think it's a process. I think that I am getting to a place where I recognize that caring for me is caring for others. And I had this epiphany in March, actually. I was at an event in New York City and I was listening to somebody else talk about proactive healthcare and how she schedules these regular annual physicals for proactive reasons so that she can ensure that she stays healthy so that she can run her business and be available to her customers. And I sat there and I felt this sense of almost a little bit of shame because I hadn't had a physical in 5 years. And in that moment, I realized I am the most important asset in my life and in my business. And if I don't take care of me, I'm not showing up to serve my customers. If I don't take care of me, I'm not showing up to take care of my employees. And if something happens to me, it's going to negatively affect the bottom line of the business because I am the face of the business. And so that was a really big defining moment for me. And since that date, I have scheduled a physical. I have gone on all the follow-up appointments. I have had a kidney stone and took time off to recover. And it's almost like the universe is testing me and asking, are you really serious about self-care? And one of the things that I've learned as I've been on this journey is that people are really supportive of self-care. So when I explain to some of my customers that I need to change a date or a time or a call because I need to go to a doctor's appointment or I need to do something to take care of myself, the response that I have received is overwhelmingly positive. So I think we make up stories in our head that putting ourselves first in self-care is a sign of weakness instead of looking at it as a sign of strength. And so just really, really aware. And I think my self-care has shifted a little bit this year in terms of making myself more proactive and diligent about self-care rather than just the day-to-day practices that I put in place.
Right. Thank you. You know, I love how you started this out about being honest about the fact that your self-care isn't 100%. And before we hit the record button, we were talking about, you know, me admitting that I'm a recovering perfectionist. And like perfection of self-care is not the goal. And it's recognizing when we need that self-care to step in and say, no, you know, sorry, whatever, I can't do that because I need to shut down or I need to do whatever.
Totally.
Yeah, so I really appreciate your honesty with that.
Yeah, and I think you can recommit to the journey. I
Yeah,
mean, one of my self-care practices, I read the Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod's book years ago. And so one of my practices in the morning is I like to get up and I like to meditate and I like to read and I like to journal. And when I'm in Florida, I like to go for a walk outside. But I'm not consistent every single day. And that's okay. So maybe some days all I do is read and journal, and maybe I only meditate once a week, but I give myself the grace to start over each and every day. And I think that's what self care is about. It's about recognizing that not every day is going to be a perfect example of self care, but you can recommit every morning.
right. Yeah, well, yeah, and I love that you're speaking to the fact that self-care doesn't have to be rigid. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be a rigid morning ritual where I do A, B, C every single morning in order to have my day. To me, that takes away the creativity and
Mm-hmm.
listening to the body and what my body needs today.
I agree. And I also, for myself, find that structure and process and a little bit of rigidity is good for my brain. It's good for my emotions. It's good for my energy.
Yes, it's the both and.
Because it's really,
Yep, you're here now. You're back.
okay. It's my rural Nova Scotia internet. It's not perfect either.
No, no, no. So, what's one thing that you would like to share for the sake of someone learning about self-care for themselves?
I think one thing that I would like to share is the power of decision. So one of the things that I coach a lot of my clients on is the language they use around I don't care.
Hmm.
And I learned this, myself over time. I love my husband to death. And I used to ask him, what do you want for dinner tonight? And I would listen to him give me this litany. Oh, well, I would like this. And then I would cook that for dinner. And then one day I had this epiphany that why do I not have a voice in what I want for dinner?
Hmm.
I'm cooking dinner. Why am I saying when do you want red or white tonight? I don't care, you pick. Why am I giving away my power that way? And I realized that there's little tiny things that we do every day where we don't choose to put ourselves first. We don't even think about what it is that we want. We don't even think about the decision that is in front of us. We just give it away without thought. And so what I do now is I say to my husband, what do you want for dinner tonight? Here are your two choices. And I give him two choices that I want.
Right.
And really want, I say, okay, great, tomorrow night we're having the other thing because that's what I want. And so I've learned how to show up and use my voice, and I've learned how to make stronger decisions for me. I don't think self-care is always just, journaling and meditation and yoga and woo-woo spirituality. I think self-care is about decision and choice,
Yes.
and being strong enough to say what I want matters, and being quiet enough to recognize, what do you want? Most people don't know.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, thank you so much. Cause I'm just taking that in because there's so much richness in that. And self-care is about sometimes having those conversations with ourselves to really checking in, stop, like, what is it that I need? And sometimes saying, speaking up about what it is I need. And also sometimes saying no to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's the other aspect of it is it's like, no, that's not going to help my self-care. It's not going to help me nourish myself. So yeah, and we do that but with the decisions and the choices that we make. So thank you so much. Lisa,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Awareness is powerful.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to thank you so
Awareness
much.
is so powerful.
It is. Yes. We've got another little bit of a delay, and I want to honor our time this morning. So thank you so much for sharing with me today. I'm going to be back in a couple of days with another conversation about self-care. And if you would like to chat about your self-care, please feel free to add to the thread or send me a message. I'd love to know what your practices are and what's one thing that you're going to take away from this video today. So thank you very much and have a great day and take good care of you.